Hi, everybody. Welcome to Happy Hour live on Brew Sports, a Tuesday edition of the program. It is a great day to talk about the sports world. There is just so much going on. But before we get to that, I'm joined by my good friend Charles O'Donnell. Charles, how are you today, sir?
Oh, I am doing fantastic. It's good to be back here after last week's fun episode.
I know. We had a great time last week.
Yep. And I just hope that we can get hashtag Yoga Rebel trending once again.
Yeah, right.
Especially for you.
Those Yoga Rebels were freaking out on us last week, and hopefully we can do them justice again this week. I had actually forgot about the old Yoga Rebels hashtag that we got going last week, because we were talking about things that were overrated last week, and yoga pants came into the conversation, then it all kind of went downhill from there, honestly. But I don't know if we're going to stray down that path today, Charles. I think we actually have a lot of good content to cover today. So
we had some good content last week, but I mean...
That's true, but sometimes conversations like to take a hard right sometimes. And
exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that, right?
No, not at all.
All right, we're going to be joined by Bleacher Report's very own David Kenyon in the second segment to talk about last night's NCAA National Championship game as UNC takes home the crown over the supposed Cinderellas. It's always funny to call a one seed a Cinderella in Gonzaga, but we'll talk with David about that in the second segment. But before we do, of course, we remind you to hit those comments down below. Any thoughts you have about what we're talking about, any questions you got for us as well, too, make sure to do that. And also hit the share button as well to let folks know what's going on here on Brew Sports and what you've got going on as well in your sports social media world as well, too. Looking forward to seeing what you guys have to say about all the great stuff we've got coming at you today. All right, Charles, first and foremost, the big story that has a lot of people talking today is Tony Romo letting the world know that he is retiring from football. The Cowboys have officially released him as well, and he was signed by a new team immediately. It's kind of amazing. You don't see this very often.
Well, as fast as he was signed, someone was also released.
That is true, exactly. So it wasn't a football team, unfortunately, though, for those of you who are like, oh, who signed him? No, it's not like that, unfortunately. He has officially agreed to join CBS as a part of their broadcast team. He's going to be joining Jim Nantz in the booth for the #1 broadcast team.
Who he's actually really good friends with, too. And he's also been doing some golf things as well, because Tony Romo, he's a golf fanatic.
When I think golf, Tony Romo, first guy on the top of my head.
Not Tiger or Arnold Palmer.
No, not Rory. Anybody else that's actually played the sport or qualified. Tony Romo, first guy when people are like, name your favorite golfer. I'm like, Tony Romo.
Well, although I would disagree. When I think of golf, I think of Happy Gilmore or Charles Barkley Swain.
I mean, have you seen the video of Marshawn Lynch's golf swing as well, too?
I have not.
Oh,
Is it Barkley worthy?
Some might say it's better, some might say it's worse. It depends on who you ask.
Wow.
It's pretty awful no matter really how you slice it, but just all depends on who you ask, I guess.
Are there Skittles involved?
There should have been. Maybe that's why he didn't have enough. He didn't have enough power Skittles to keep him going. But so Tony Romo retiring and now signing. What do you think of this move? Do you think that he still had a lot left in the tank, that he's kind of voiding himself of maybe 2 to 3 more good years of NFL football?
No, I mean, it's been pretty evident the last couple of years that Romo's biggest demon essentially was his body. I mean, it just seems like every time like Romo would have some kind of momentum going on, he would get hurt. I mean, look at he got a little injury this past year, and then Dak Prescott came in, and the rest is history.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's unfortunate. Romo honestly does have the athletic ability to be a top 5 quarterback in this league.
Right.
Still, even at his age, but he can't keep his body healthy. I mean, right now, if I'm CBS, I'm going, woohoo, we just got a good signing. If I'm, Phil Simms, I'm like, okay.
Well, that's the thing. Phil Simms has yet to officially be released by CBS.
Yeah,
he obviously is no longer going to be on the #1 telecast anymore when CBS does their big games, but I would like to assume Phil Simms is still going to have a job at CBS. I mean, he's an okay color commentator.
No, I think he's okay. I've been hearing mixed things. I've been hearing no, he's gone, or no, he's going to do other things. But I don't know. It's just when you hear that Tony Romo's taking his spot with not much prior TV experience whatsoever, and he's also doing other things as well. I mean, that's pretty evident. And I'm just surprised that it actually took this long. Because there was even rumblings about this months back.
Right.
But at the end of the day, though, I'm not worried about Tony Romo right now. I mean, there's a couple NFL teams right now that are literally freaking out.
Well, that's the thing now. Yeah. Now that Tony Romo has taken himself off the market, you look now to guys like a Jay Cutler and a Colin Kaepernick. But more specifically, Jay Cutler, he was the big topic of conversation. It was Tony Romo, it was Jay Cutler. Now Romo says, you know what, Jay, good luck, I'm out, kind of a thing.
Right.
How much more value does Jay Cutler suddenly have, and how much more money can he potentially now get that he's one of the last few veteran quarterbacks still hanging around?
Well, essentially, Jay Cutler is probably now the number one free agent left on the market. I mean, you can look at his history in Chicago. Maybe me being a Chicago guy, as some of you know now.
Right.
But
your inside, your opinions about that help, though.
No, yeah. And, like, it's a thing. Like, Jay Cutler, was his tenure in Chicago terrible? Yes. Were there some times of where he showed more than promise? Yes. Okay, look at the 2 seasons ago when he had offensive coordinator Adam Gase, who is now the head coach of the Dolphins. Okay. Probably Cutler's best year.
He hasn't been bad his entire career. That's what people forget.
Yeah, he's not a bad quarterback. He literally has all of the tools to be an elite quarterback. He just needs the right system. I mean,
right.
Me being Chicago, I don't know how many offensive coordinators he goes through because it's an ongoing joke. But it's a fact though. But the bottom line is that now that Tony Romo is gone, I don't know what Jay Cutler is going to do. I mean, all we know about Jay Cutler is that his wife likes to post weird pictures of him looking at the ocean. But at the end of the day, though, now his stock just went up a lot.
Well, here's the thing. I'm looking at Jay Cutler's stat lines in front of me right now. He's less than 500 as a winning percentage as a whole, 68 and 71 overall as a starting quarterback. He's completed a little under 62% of his passes, thrown for over 32,000 yards. 208 touchdowns and 146 interceptions. He only played in 5 games last season,
right,
due to injury and other assorted things, of course. But
it wasn't a good year for the Bears.
Duly noted. But I mean, you run down his careers as a whole. I mean, his most he's ever thrown for touchdowns was 28 touchdowns in a season, 18 interceptions. That was one of his worst ever from an interception perspective. The best year he's ever had as a starting quarterback is going 10-5 twice.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what kind of a value do you have on this guy? Do you give him a year deal? Do you give him a 2 or 3 year deal for maybe like $15 to $20 million and say, let's see what happens after that?
Honestly, I'd give him a 2-year deal. Yeah, I know people are going to think I'm crazy. Like going back to the Bears, the Mike Glennon deal, people are going, that's like a weird deal. But like I said last week, if it doesn't work out in a year, you can get rid of him. True. I say if I'm Houston, the Texans, you sign Cutler to the exact same deal. Because you look at their offense with DeAndre Hopkins, who the season wasn't the greatest.
Very disappointing. I had him on one of my fantasy teams last year.
But he's still a great wide receiver. It's his contract year, so you know he's going to play his heart out. And let's keep going back. 2 seasons ago, he went through 5 quarterbacks and was still one of the best receivers in the league. Okay, you got that great running game. The offensive line is pretty good, but also C.J. Fedorowicz is one of the most underrated tight ends.
I was going to say that's a name I don't know very well. C.J. Fedorowicz.
He's a very underrated tight end. And then plus, they also have Jalen Strawn and Braxton Miller from Ohio State.
Right.
And Bill O'Brien's, sure, like they've had decent success in Houston with their offense, but he's a quarterback guru. And I feel like that, if you give a guy like Jay Cutler with Bill O'Brien, they can go farther in the playoffs.
That's the big thing. I mean, you look at the teams that need quarterbacks right now. I would even entertain Jay Cutler back to Denver.
Well, considering now that all of them are gone, that could be possible too.
But I know John Elway's also come out and said, like, guys, like, we're fine. We're going to ride it out. We've got Trevor and Paxton Lynch and these other guys. But, I mean, if you had an opportunity to even get this veteran quarterback into Jay Cutler, I mean, Denver is still very much a Super Bowl caliber team with the offensive weapons they have in Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas. Plus, you mix in the C.J. Anderson, occasional sparks of running.
Right.
Plus, the defense still led by Von Miller. You're going to be a contender no matter who your quarterback is, and they almost made the playoffs last year.
Yeah, but I still think Houston, because look at Houston was one of the top defenses in all of football, and that was without J.J. Watt.
True.
Jadeveon Clowney.
That's scary to think about.
He finally came out of his shell, being the first overall pick, and just was nothing but dominant.
Yes, that's going to be the big thing in a lot of this too. It's so funny for me mentally to think of Houston as a team that's actually a Super Bowl contender, just because they've been so inconsistent for the last couple of seasons, and their quarterbacks have been a little shoddy as well too. So to really think that one quarterback would be this big, huge revelation for the team, I mean, yes, that certainly would help. It also would be helpful if Watt and Clowney were healthy the whole season as well. That would make a huge difference.
Well, it's like, now this is going to sound like blasphemy to some of our viewers, but okay, remember before Peyton Manning went to Denver? Who was the quarterback before Peyton Manning?
Peyton Manning before...
Before Peyton Manning went to Denver, who was the quarterback for the Broncos?
Oh, gosh.
You should know this name. Tim Tebow.
Oh, that's right. Wow, that's right.
Now, I'm not saying Jay Cutler is Peyton Manning. I will never say that. But if you have Jay Cutler go to Houston and it works out and everyone can stay healthy, more importantly.
That's true.
It could honestly be a move just like Peyton Manning going to Denver. Not saying he's going to break all these records, but I'm just saying how do I put it? When Peyton Manning went there, the Denver didn't really have a good running game. They had a decent running game. If Jay Cutler goes to Houston and he can stay somewhat consistent, okay, look how Jay Cutler performed when Matt Forte was on fire.
That's true.
You didn't have to worry about Jay Cutler throwing the ball. That's just my thing. And plus with that defense, the sky is literally the limit. But that's if Jake can stay consistent, which has always been his biggest advocate.
You're right. No, that is certainly something to keep an eye on as the season gets a lot closer and once the draft is over, too. And we're going to talk about the draft a little bit later on in the show as well. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we're going to be joined by David Kenyon from Bleacher Report. Don't go anywhere. You are watching Happy Hour here live on Brew Sports. We'll be back with more right after this.